You've seen it everywhere, on your social media feeds, in the news, at dinner parties. It's the drug on everyone's lips, a medication that started out as a treatment for diabetes, but is now completely reshaping our cultural landscape.
So the big question is, how did this happen? How did a highly specific prescription medication become a household name, sparking both incredible success stories and really intense debate? Here at TrendDecoded, we break down the complex systems behind today's biggest trends, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. We are decoding the science and the massive societal impact of a class of drugs you might have heard of, GLP-1 agonists.
To really get our heads around this, here's our game plan. We'll start with the cultural moment that created all the hype. Then, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty science of how these things actually work. From there, we'll look at the different drug families, their effectiveness, the strain this is all putting on the healthcare system, and finally, we'll take a peek at what's coming next.
All right, so first things first. Before we can even touch the biology, we have to understand the social pressure that launched these drugs into the mainstream spotlight.
And this quote, yeah, it really hits the nail on the head. The buzz didn't start in a doctor's office. It absolutely exploded online. It was fueled by celebrity rumors and viral trends, and all of a sudden, drugs like Ozempic were being talked about by everyone, not just the patients they were originally designed for.
And this has had some serious, real-world consequences. When a metabolic drug gets rebranded by social media as a lifestyle product, you get a massive surge in off-label demand. This led directly to global shortages, meaning people with type 2 diabetes, the very patients the drug was made for, were suddenly struggling to get their medication.
Okay, so that's the social side of the story. Now, let's get into the science. What is actually happening inside the body that makes these drugs so incredibly powerful?
The answer is in a class of drugs called incretin mimetics, or more specifically, GLP-1 agonists. What they do is pretty clever. They work by imitating a natural hormone our own gut produces called GLP-1.
These drugs have this powerful three-pronged approach. First, they signal the pancreas to release insulin when blood sugar is high, which is key for diabetes management. Second, they literally slow down how fast your stomach empties, which keeps you feeling full for much longer. And third, and this is a big one, they send signals directly to your brain, targeting the hypothalamus to turn down your appetite and quiet what many people describe as food noise.
Now, this powerful mechanism has led to the development of two main families of these drugs, and they're based on two different active ingredients.
And this is where we see the key difference. On one hand, you have Semaglutide. You can think of it as a single agonist. It just mimics that one GLP-1 hormone. But then you have Tirzepatide. This one's a newer, dual agonist. It mimics both GLP-1 and a second hormone called GIP. By targeting two different hormonal pathways, it can amplify the effects, which is why it often leads to even more significant results.
Now, here's where a lot of the public confusion comes in. The same active ingredients are sold under different brand names for different approved uses. Semaglutide is branded as Ozempic for diabetes and Wegovy for weight management. In the same way, Tirzepatide is Mounjaro for diabetes and Zepbound for weight management. The core drug is the same, but the branding, the dosage, and the intended patient are different.
So let's get to the numbers. Why is the demand for these drugs just so high? How effective are they really?
Well, the results have been nothing short of staggering. In clinical trials, Zepbound, which uses that dual antagonist Tirzepatide, showed an average weight loss of 21% of a person's total body weight.
And to put that in perspective, while Wegovy, the single agonist, shows a very impressive 15% average weight loss, you can see how the dual agonist in Zepbound pushes that figure even higher.
And you know, the benefits go way beyond the number on the scale. Major clinical trials have shown these drugs can reduce the risk of heart attack and stroke by 20%. They're also getting approved for other conditions like obstructive sleep apnea and a serious type of fatty liver disease, all while helping protect the kidneys.
But of course, this level of effectiveness comes with a trade-off. The most common side effects are gastrointestinal, things like nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting. And while those often get better over time, there are more serious risks, including an FDA-boxed warning for a potential risk of thyroid tumors, along with concerns about pancreatitis, gallbladder issues, and even intestinal blockages. We've just covered the clinical data, and next we're going to shift to the impact on the entire system. If you're finding this structured analysis helpful for making sense of this complex topic, now is a great time to like this explainer and subscribe to TrendDecoded to support our work.
Okay, so when you combine that incredible effectiveness with the intense social media hype we talked about earlier, you put an enormous strain on the entire healthcare system.
And it's not just an industry issue. The public has definitely noticed. According to survey data, 63% of adults are concerned about the safety of off-label use, and nearly as many, 58%, are worried about the supply shortages it's causing. This has created a genuine public health challenge. The demand, driven heavily by off-label prescribing for aesthetic weight loss, has just completely outstripped the supply, leaving patients with diagnosed type 2 diabetes struggling to fill the very prescriptions they rely on to manage their condition.
And what makes the whole situation worse is the wave of misinformation. This quote from a study is pretty eye-opening. Not only are the drug's properties frequently misrepresented on social media, but those dramatic before and after videos that are fueling the hype, well, they often have a high probability of being modified with AI, creating completely unrealistic expectations.
Finally, while we're still grappling with the impact of the current drugs, the next generation of even more advanced treatments is already on its way. The innovation in this space is just moving at a breathtaking pace. Daily oral pills are in late-stage development, which could eliminate injections entirely. And we're going beyond dual agonists now. A triple agonist called Retatrutide is in trials. It targets 3 distinct hormones and is showing an average weight loss of nearly 29%, a figure that starts to approach the results of bariatric surgery. In short, GLP-1 agonists represent a revolutionary step in metabolic medicine. They operate on key gut and brain hormones to produce significant weight loss and health benefits. However, their unprecedented popularity, fueled by social media, has created systemic challenges, including supply shortages and widespread misinformation, even as the next generation of more powerful therapies is already emerging.
So let's summarize what we've decoded here. GLP-1 agonists are a revolutionary class of drugs. They work with our own bodies to deliver significant health benefits, but their explosion into the mainstream has created serious systemic problems, from shortages to dangerous misinformation. And as we've seen, the next wave of these drugs promises to be even more powerful. This all leads us to a really profound question. As these treatments become stronger and more accessible, are we entering a new era where a chronic condition like obesity is managed with medication for life? To continue exploring complex trends with us, be sure to subscribe to TrendDecoded, and please share your thoughts on this topic in the comments below. Disclaimer: this content is for educational and informational purposes only and is based on the reference materials. It does not reflect the personal opinion of the channel owner and should not be considered professional medical advice.